Good morning, everyone. I'm going to introduce Rachel. She's from Canine Companions, and it's a great privilege to have her this morning. She went to she studied animal science at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. After working at several dog-centered jobs, boarding, and training facilities, she began a new career that would deepen her understanding of dog training and further educate her about vibrant communities we serve. It is a job that encourages self-improvement while simultaneously generating the empowerment and independence of others with hearing loss. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you, Georgia. Thank you, everybody, for having me. I have Derby here too joining, if you can see in the back. She is a hearing dog who is completed her training and she's ready for placement. So she's joining us today. I am coming to you live from work, our campus, our Southwest Region campus, located in Oceanside, San Diego County. And this is one of our dorm rooms. I wanted to make it clear, this is not my bedroom. So this is one of the dorm rooms on our campus. And this is where we train our hearing dogs primarily because it is a home environment. So it makes sense. So welcome to the dorm, welcome to campus. I have worked for Canine Companions for, it'll be 15 years, February. It's been very exciting to work here. The majority of my time has been working and training with the dogs that have been placed with people with physical disabilities. However, the last year, I've had the great privilege of working and learning about the hearing dogs and training them and placing them. So that has been very exciting for me. I'm a senior instructor. That's my title. And that basically means my job is I train dogs and I make placements with our clients. That is what I do. I had about a year of a stint in our applicant department, so an office desk job, and I didn't do great there because
Jackie, is it muted?
Keep going.
Keep going?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I did work in the office in the applicant department, so I did learn a lot about our applicants coming through. But that was a tough gig for me at a desk job because I can't sit at a computer unless I have snacks. So I ended up needing to buy new pants and new tops. So I love training these dogs and I love working with our clients. So it's been a real privilege for me to work here. To give you a little background about Canine Companions, it was established in 1975, and we provide expertly trained service dogs to adults, children, and veterans with over 65 different types of disabilities. We also place facility dogs, and facility dogs are trained to work with professionals who work in healthcare, criminal justice, educational and therapeutic settings. So those are the dogs that we do provide. We did start out as one small little center up in Santa Rosa, California. And over the last many decades, we have grown to 6 regions nationwide. As of this past August, we placed our 8,000th graduate team. So we are just rolling along. The best part and one of the most important things about this organization is that the dogs are placed with our clients And the follow-up that we provide for the lifetime of the placement is all provided 100% free of charge to our clients. So that's a big difference. We do know that there are other organizations that are looking to charge large chunks of money, and the dogs are definitely worth it, but we are able to provide these dogs free of charge. When a client graduates with one of our dogs, they do take on financial responsibility for the dog, just like you would a pet dog. So that's important to know. So veterinary bills, food, toys, all that kind of stuff. That's on the client. But the dog is gifted to you. To explain a little bit about our matching process, like how we make these placements, I'll give you a little bit of an overview. Canine Companions we have our own breeding program. Every year, about 950 future service dog puppies are born. They spend the first 18 months of their lives with a volunteer puppy raiser who is preparing them for their future careers. So our volunteers are our backbone. They are the backbone of this organization. This would not happen without them, period. So we're so grateful to them.
Hi, did you call?
So the puppies are with the volunteer puppy raiser in their own homes until about 1.5 years old. And once they reach that age, they are then turned into one of our 6 regional training centers for professional training. So that's when they meet me and our other instructors. They spend 6 to 9 months on a campus at a regional center in training. So the dogs live on campus, and instructors, trainers, are assigned anywhere from 7 to 12 dogs each. And that is what we do. We are responsible for training all those dogs on a regular basis and getting them prepared for placement with one of our clients. At that same time, we are learning so much about the dogs because they are not cookie cutter. These dogs are all very individual, just like us, very unique. They all have their own temperaments, their own strengths, their own weaknesses, what gets them going, what they enjoy, their different activity and energy levels. So we take all of that into account when we're deciding what category they would best be suited for. So when they are ready to go, when they have completed their 6 to 9 months of training and they are ready for placement, that's when we look at our current wait list, where we have our candidates, people who have applied, who have been accepted into the program and have been placed on our wait list. We look at that list and we start to see, okay, which one of these dogs will suit which one of these people. I can tell you a little bit more about the application process towards the end, but as far as the placement process, that's what happens. It's true that the dogs that are ready for placement really determine who we can invite off of our wait list, because we want it to be a perfect match, right? So when we've figured out on paper who's looking like a good match for which person on our wait list, we will invite them to a team training. And team training is a 2-week-long class where our clients come and literally move in. This is why we have dorm rooms. So our campus here in Oceanside, we have 12 dorm rooms. So we can accommodate our clients when they come to get matched with their dog. So those 2 weeks, it's class every day, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And you are working dogs and you are getting lectures. We're teaching you about all things dog behavior, dog health, safety and public etiquette, because these are service dogs that are going out into public where other pet dogs are not permitted to go. Dog handling. These dogs are taught a very specific way of being managed. So it's all very different than a typical pet dog. A lot of people ask, do these dogs have off time? Do they get to have fun? Yes, they do. Absolutely. They still get to be dogs, but the standard is quite high for their behavior. So there are certain things they are not permitted to do, right? But they still get to have fun. They can still have play dates with other dogs, but their manners have to be top tier. And their training has to be maintained so that they can continue to be a helpful tool for the person that they've partnered up with and who they've become part of their family. So those team trainings, again, 2 weeks long, class every day, and we make the match. And by the end of that second week, assuming all has gone beautifully, we have a grand graduation ceremony and we send our new graduates on their way to start their new lives with their partner. So it's really exciting. Those team trainings are held 4 times a year. And sometimes we can squeeze in a little extra. So that's kind of an overview. And if you guys have questions, I can answer them towards the end if you need clarification or anything. But I have a little presentation about our hearing dogs specifically, because that's what we're here for. So I do have a PowerPoint I would like to share if we're ready, and hopefully I do not mess this up. Okay, so I'm going to try to share my screen. Hang on. How's it looking? Good?
Perfect.
Thank you. Okay. Hang on one sec. Okay, so this is just going to be more information about our hearing dogs because they're a little bit different than the dogs that that are matched with someone with a physical disability. And I'll explain why, but they're very fun. Okay, so what exactly does a hearing dog do? These dogs are trained to alert their partner or their person to key sounds in their environment. So they basically learn, these are the formal cues or commands we call. Alert tells the dog to alert you, and what, with a hand signal, tells the dog to take you to the source of the sound. They also help in an informal way where they can provide more environmental awareness to their handler. So if you're out and about in public, because of the type of temperament these dogs have, they're very curious, they're very alert, they're aware of their surroundings. If a car is coming up behind you in a parking lot and your dog kind of looks over their shoulder, that's your cue to, oh, what are they looking at, right? What did they hear? What are they looking at? So that's really important. We do have clients that are interested in having a dog alert them to traffic or possibly people walking up behind them. The thing is, that sound is a little too general for them to have a very specific alert response to. So it can be a little tricky. So that's why we say that environmental awareness that they provide just by their body language is really, really helpful for things like that. They also provide a sense of reassurance and a sense of security. They are not trained or expected to protect their handler in any way. These are super friendly, super sociable dogs. If we had dogs in training that had protective tendencies, they wouldn't make it, okay, in the program. Because they are out and about, they're in public. We need the public to be receptive to them. They're cute, they're fluffy, they're friendly. But the nice thing is that when you do have your dog by your side, or someone with hearing loss has their dog by their side, and they have their vest on, we have patches you can put on their vest that says hearing dog in bright orange too. Just having them by your side creates a public awareness, because we understand that hearing loss it's a hidden thing. People don't know that you cannot hear them coming behind you. From what our clients have shared with me, it's just, it hurts my heart what they experience just because people don't know that they can't hear them. Cyclists coming down a path, a hiking trail, trying to ring a bell if they have it or yell, and our clients walking and can't hear them. Cyclist passes them and is super frustrated and angry and yelling at them. Not cool. It really bothers me. So yes, having one of these dogs by your side out in public will help indicate to people that perhaps they need to have your attention if they want to talk to you. Wouldn't that be nice? Okay. What sounds can these dogs alert people to? Tons. These are super common here. Oven timer, washer dryer cycle beeps, someone calling your name, especially within the home. So if your spouse is trying to call you from the other room, you can teach your dog to alert you to that. Sirens, big one for Texans who live in Tornado Alley. Cell phone rings, doorbells, ambulance, fire trucks, police sirens, water running, your sweet baby crying, if you've dropped something, your keys or your cell phone. That one's interesting. If you can train your dog to alert to a rattle, that's life-saving. So the primary sequence for our hearing dogs, sorry, I need to move something here real quick. Okay, sorry about that. So the alert, the dog will, when they hear a sound, they will alert their handler by nudging typically the thigh, the side of the leg. They can be taught to alert other areas of the body, like the upper arm or the back. If they're, say, in the back seat of your car and you're driving and there's a fire engine behind you, the only access they will have is kind of your upper shoulder. So they can be taught to alert there. But typically it's the leg, left or right. And we want that nudge to be very persistent until it's acknowledged by the handler. It doesn't have to be super hard, but persistence is key. The handler then responds with yes. That's a verbal cue. Yes, that tells the dog, you nailed it. You did the right thing. And then the next thing is what? And the dog will take them to the source of the sound. Unlike the other dogs that we train, these dogs do not have to learn practical task work like retrieving dropped items, tugging open doors. Those are reserved for the service dogs working with the facility clients or the service clients who have physical disabilities. So they aren't required and do not learn those practical tasks. They do learn basic obedience, because even though these dogs are typically higher energy and very alert, they still need to be well-mannered and be manageable and responsive to their handler. We can also teach them hand signals for basics. So sit, down. So that's really nice. Recall to come to you. The thing is, even though they're not required to learn a laundry list of task work, the one thing, their alert, their sound work needs to be so solid. It's the most important task they have because their person is relying on them to wake them up in the middle of the night. Say the smoke alarm is going. That dog, if they're snoozing sound asleep on their dog bed or in your bed, they need to hear it, wake up, and come alert you until you wake up. And some of us are heavy sleepers, right? So it's a phenomenal job that they have. So characteristics of a hearing dog. These dogs temperamentally, I mentioned earlier, are different than the dogs that go into the other categories. So these are the ways in which they are. Dogs that are suitable for hearing dog placement, they are very aware of their environment. They are very aware of the people around them. They notice sounds that may or may not be important. So it's almost like they're distractible, but it's in a focused way. They aren't bouncing off the walls. They aren't crazy, but they're just very aware. They generally do have higher energy. Often this energy can be harnessed and focused into working. And again, this energy level can make it difficult to place the dog in another category. This would be difficult to place the dog with high energy, who's super active, with someone who has limited range of motion or is medically fragile in any way. So there can be some exceptions to this high energy, and sometimes it can work against us. And that would be if the dog cannot settle, if they're just always ramped up, that can be difficult. And that typically, if that's the case, that type of dog is not suitable to work as a service dog, which is okay, because if they get released from our program, they just get to go live a regular dog life. So it's a win-win. Either you make it or you don't, but either way, you're a dog and you have a wonderful life. That's how I look at it. They let us know if they want a working role or not, and we go with it. We listen to them. Hearing dogs are also incredibly food driven. They will do anything for a piece of kibble. We use food in our sound work training, and our clients do too, even when they go home as a graduate. So this high food drive is important. I mean, these dogs almost inhale their kibble. It's like, did you chew that? I don't know if you did, but that's okay. So high food drive. This one is huge. This willingness to initiate behavior independently. This is really important because the dogs that go with our other categories, they do not initiate behavior independently. They typically, their temperament is the type where they wait for directives, which is what their person needs. We do not want a dog going with a service client with a spinal cord injury. We do not want that dog initiating or making decisions for themselves. We want them to be very attentive to their person and to be waiting patiently for the next command. That makes sense. Hearing dogs need to initiate that alert. That example I used before, if we're sound asleep in bed, that dog needs to go, oh, here's the smoke alarm. and knows that's my job. I got to get up and go do my thing. I'm not waiting for someone to tell me what to do. That's what we need these dogs to do. Hearing dogs often display lower impulse control, which is okay. It's manageable. It doesn't mean they're out of control. It just means they might need a little bit more what's the word? I did say management, but they're okay. Let me put it that way. Like they might be interested in cats and they'll always get a little bit excited, but it doesn't mean they're going to be lunging and bolting for the cat. Whereas a service dog might see a cat who's in a different category and just stroll past it, maybe not even look at it. But because our hearing dogs are alert, because that's what they need to be, they get excited, but they are controllable. Willingness to break a position to alert their handler. That's like initiating the behavior as well. If you tell a service dog in a different category to go to a bed, there's an implied stay. So you tell them to go lay in their dog bed. They do. They are not supposed to move from that position until they're told that they're allowed to. A hearing dog's different. If you tell them to go lay in their bed, take a little break, but then your phone rings, they need to break that command, break that bed stay, come alert you, do their job. Hearing dogs do enjoy working. They are typically always on duty because they are basically the second set of ears for their person. So we need a dog that really enjoys it, that has high drive for work. The only time they're off duty is if they are in their crate with the door closed because they do not have access to their person. Okay, and I covered the last two. So how do we train hearing dogs? Typically in training for a hearing dog, it's 3 to 6 months once they've transferred to the hearing dog program. So I should clarify this. We do not train dogs specifically for the hearing dog program. We select them out of the group of dogs that turn into professional training. So if you recall, I had mentioned at 1.5 years old, our dogs leave their volunteer puppy raiser home and get turned into one of our regional centers to work with professional trainers. Within those first 2 months that we're getting to know their temperament, their energy level, we can see, ooh, this might be a nice hearing dog. Because otherwise, everyone's being trained on the same track and learning the same skills. But once we determine, oh, this dog has some nice hearing dog traits, then we'll pull them and start doing sound work. And that usually takes 3 to 6 months for them to be fully prepared. The dogs do work on the handler's left side when we're in motion. So if your dog's used to working on the left side, but they can alert to both the left and right side and need to, they're trained to, stationary. We do evaluate and train these dogs for escalator work. Only the hearing dogs and only the service dogs for veterans that we train. Those two categories are the only ones that are evaluated for escalator usage. It doesn't mean that all dogs will enjoy that. So if we evaluate, we take them to the mall, we try them out, and if there is any aversion to that escalator, we discontinue. But if they get right on, really no problem, and they're fully comfortable, we will continue to acclimate them, and then it will become part of their training routine where they need to go at least weekly and get on and off escalators as part of their training program. So we'll tell clients, we have to make sure and ask them, are escalators important to you? And if it's yes, then we know that. If it's no, then we could place them with a dog who doesn't like escalators, but does everything else perfectly. Oops, sorry, that was too quick. Most of the professional training that we focus on is teaching the dogs how to play the game, we call it, which is the sound work, alerting you what, taking you to the sound. Introducing different body positions, as I mentioned. So whether you're in the car and it's an alert on your shoulder because they're in the back seat, or like this, we're in the dorm room. A training session for me will be teaching Derby how to alert me while I'm lying in bed. I'm pretending to sleep, and I'll set a timer for 5 minutes so it won't go off. So she's hanging out 5 minutes. Suddenly the timer sounds, and I need to make sure she will come to me while I'm in bed, covers over me, and just start alerting me till I acknowledge her. We also work on generalizing the sounds to different locations on campus and even field trips. So once I'm feeling very secure about the dog's responsiveness to my cell phone or the timer, I will take them to Target, or I will take them to Lowe's, and I'll set the timer or my cell phone on the shelf and test out their skills in that public environment. We also work on adding distractions, because right now this dorm room is very sterile. There are a couple toys out, but if we want to up the ante and make it real life scenario, we might have another person in here having a conversation with me, and you set a sound and see that the dog will alert you even though there's another person. Or having another dog in the room, or having really exciting toys in the room, lots of squeaky toys. So we'll test them out that way and strengthen their sound work skills that way. We do on and off leash work in an enclosed space. We work them with their vests on and off. And as I mentioned, we take them out into public. So here's a video with one of our senior instructors to give you an idea of what our dogs look like when they're working.
Yes. 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 Good girl. Yes.
So there you could see the sequence and the fact that Ken was using food, and that dog looked really happy doing her job, right? This is just a little video with the escalators, just to show you. So that dog is at ease, tail wagging, no hesitation to board. So that's wonderful. Okay, oops. Okay, so as far as applicants go or applying, well, I'll give you a general about hearing dog applicants. Sorry, I got confused with my own slide. So the application process is multi-tiered, which I have a slide for after this, I believe. Typically, we do serve one person. So we place one dog with one person. The first bullet point up top here, where it says dual purpose hearing and hearing / service, or one dog for two handlers. This is very, very rare that we'd make these types of placements. So it is typically a 1-for-1. But people do often ask about these types of placements. So the hearing / SE is service. That would mean a dog who's trained to do sound work and alert their person, but also had the other task work, like retrieve, like a formal retrieve to pick up dropped items, or a tug to open a door. The tricky thing about that is that it's difficult to find the dog with the right temperament, because we've discussed how different the temperaments are. So maybe there's a unicorn dog with quality traits from both types of temperaments that could do this, but it's quite rare. And the one dog for two handlers, this has been done before, but the environment has to be such that the dog would not have to differentiate between who to alert. So if it's two folks living at home and they both are hard of hearing and they both are interested in having the dog alert them to the same sounds, and the dog doesn't have to decide who do I alert in this moment, it could work. But if it's a couple and they have very different lives and different sounds are priorities to them, then we'd say it's best to have two dogs in that household, one dog for you and one dog for you. Okay. Common challenges: vertigo, tinnitus or tinnitus. Sorry, I'm never quite sure how to pronounce that. Balance or gait, and affected speech. So with the vertigo or challenges with balance or gait, that's something that we look at very closely, and we would know it doesn't mean that you cannot be successful. It just means that we have to be very careful about the type of dog that we place with you, because while in general, I've described our dog temperaments and energy levels, we do get some lower energy or kind of more mellow, softer, maybe a little bit more polite ones here and there. So those are the types that we would look at for folks that had any challenges with balance or vertigo. As far as affected speech, we do serve people who are nonverbal, and we serve folks that use ASL. And speaking on that, we do treat those team trainings I talked about when we're inviting clients to get matched with dogs. We will not mix ASL users and oral users. So, because we understand that they're like two different languages completely. So we will invite ASL users to one class and they will have their interpreters. And then a separate class would be those folks that use hearing aids, cochlear implants, and our lip readers. They would be in their own class. And two of our regions are the designated hearing dog program regions. This is important to know. It's our Northwest campus up in Santa Rosa, California, and it's our Southeast campus in Florida. Those two regions do have tools that are helpful during team training. So they do have like a loop system in place that can hook up to hearing aids for class, so that when instructors are teaching or lecturing, that we're giving our students the best opportunity to hear everything and not miss anything. And as far as any phone conversations that may need to be had, whether it's during the application process or post graduate, if we need to do a follow-up, then we can use FaceTime. We can do anything that our client prefers as far as communication goes. So I have pulled, I don't know if this will be easy to see, but basically this is how one would apply for one of our dogs. The application process can take several months to complete because it is multi-tiered. So the very first step is visiting our website at canine.org and filling out an online form. It's basically an application request where you'll note who you are and what you're looking for as far as one of our dogs go. Once that's submitted, stage 2 would be completing an online application, which is a little bit lengthy, and submitting that. Once we receive that, we review it. If everything's looking good and it looks like we're on the same page, we will schedule a telephone interview. After the telephone interview, stage 4 would be a request for medical or professional reference forms. So typically for our hearing dog applicants, we're asking for a medical reference form from a primary care physician, or if you don't have one, then a doctor that you know very well and knows you very well. And typically an audiogram. So once we receive the reference forms, then we'll schedule a personal interview where we want to meet you in person. And that's an exciting day because we do fill you in more on our program, and we do a one-on-one private interview with you. And we also teach you, we have you do some dog handling. So we give you a little insight into how these dogs are trained to be handled and what would be expected of you should you come through a team training and get placed with one of our dogs. But the important part of that is we do it to give you a little insight, but we also do it for us so we can see what your natural handling style is, your tone of voice, your body language, because these are things we take into account when we are making matches in the future. Because again, these dogs are not cookie cutter. They all require specific things from people. So that even comes down to what type of a handler you are. Are you a softer handler? Are you a little bit more firm handler? Because these dogs need different handling, and we know it. So that soft, maybe polite hearing dog I mentioned earlier, would need a kind of a gentle, easygoing handler. So that's what we get to see on that personal interview day when we have you come in and actually handle some of our dogs. So the personal interview is the final stage. Once that happens, our selection review committee gets together and we review each applicant's profile from top to bottom, and it's a committee decision on whether we say yay or nay, if it's an acceptance or if we feel it's necessary to decline. If you are accepted, that's when you are placed on our wait list. Our wait list can get lengthy at times, but we do really try to serve the candidates on our wait list within 20 months max. So it's a long time to wait at times, but it's worth it. But there are times when we can serve folks sooner. And some people get really lucky and get a super early invite that they did not expect. But again, it all depends on the dogs that are ready for placement, who we can actually invite, who they will best suit, and vice versa. So that's the application process. I'm going to skip this if you don't mind. I think it's pretty, I think we've kind of covered that. So if you're on our wait list and we have a dog that would be perfect for you, then you would be invited to class. Again, we have 2 regions that have the formal hearing dog program, up Northern California and then in Florida. So as a hearing dog applicant, it's important to think about that, and you'll be asked if you're willing to travel, depending on where you're coming from. And if you have a preferred region. We're still primarily speaking of Northern California and Florida, because that's where you would likely be served. You're speaking with me today from Oceanside because we have been experimenting with doing it here, but it's not official. So we couldn't guarantee that, say, a hearing dog applicant from Los Angeles would be guaranteed a chance to come down to San Diego County, if that makes sense. So we'd still be asking you in the application process, are you okay to travel to Northern California or Florida? And if it's yes, would you have a preferred location? Period. So I can clarify that in questions later if anyone's confused. So finally, if you have come through a team training and successfully completed the course and have gloriously graduated with your hearing dog and you go home, the best thing is you're now part of the Canine Companions family, and we have a graduate follow-up program. We will be in contact with you for the lifetime of the placement. Number one, you as a graduate are required to recertify every 1 to 3 years. So that's where we would have you conduct, ADI's public access test, and it's very straightforward. When that happens, we're just watching and making sure that you are making safe decisions and moving through space and time in a controlled manner with your dog. So nothing crazy. But yeah, there's required recertification every 1 to 3 years post-graduation. But the graduate department is always present and here to support our teams. So no matter what it is, if there's something that is concerning you or you have questions, whether it's dog behavior related, if it's training related, medical, you call us and we will support you, or email us. We like to have in-person follow-ups because we like to see you, and we also like to keep our eyes on the dog too and make sure that they are in good shape. And around 9 years old for these dogs, typically we start to have a conversation with our graduates about retirement plans for their dog. It may seem a little early sometimes, but it's a case-by-case basis. The thing is, we want these dogs, they work so hard for us, and we're so grateful to them that when it's time for them to retire, they've earned it, and they should spend their last couple years getting their gold watch and having their Mai Tai by the pool, you know? So they've earned some time off. This is also a time we would discuss with a graduate if they have an interest in getting a successor dog, so getting a second dog and what that would look like. But there's a lot of communication going on between the graduate department and our graduate teams. And again, we are constantly in touch with you, not hounding you, but we're always available to you. So it is a great program. There was something else I was going to say, but yes. Okay, that's the end of my slideshow, but one other thing I wanted to mention that makes the hearing dog program unique compared to the other categories of service dogs that we place is the hearing dogs, when they're training with me right now here, they learn the game, they learn sound work. They are taught to respond to 5 sounds. So a timer, a doorbell, a door knock, a cell phone, and keys dropping, right? While you're moving, walking. That's what they learn while they're in professional training here. When they are in a team training, getting placed with their new person, we use the same timer and the same doorbell to teach the students how to train their dogs, right? What to expect, how to problem solve if the dog gets confused. But we're using the same tools that the dogs have been trained with here. Most importantly, we are teaching the clients, the student in team training, how to be a trainer, because that will be your job when you go home. When you graduate and you go home, it is then the handler's responsibility to keep the training going and teach their dog to alert them to important sounds in their own environment. So that's not something we could do here because we don't know what those things are for you. But now when you go home, you know how to do it. So that's basically what you're learning in those 2 weeks of team training. You're learning how to train your dog, and you're also starting the bonding process with your dog, because that takes time too. It's not best friends overnight. It's not a natural thing. It's not natural for humans to be besties, best friends immediately. It takes time to build a relationship, to build understanding, to build trust, to figure out who each other is. So during team training, that initial relationship starts to blossom, and the student is learning how, okay, they're making plans in their head. This is how I do this when I go home, because I need to teach them what my doorbell sounds like or my alarm clock sounds like. So this is how I do it. So I hope that makes sense, but it's very unique to the hearing dog program because there is not that much of an expectation on the graduates from the other categories, because those dogs are taught, and yes, they need their training maintained, and the only way to do that is to use it and do training sessions, but it's a little bit different for hearing dogs. Okay, this is the end of my slideshow, so I'm going to stop sharing. Did I stop sharing? Okay.
You did.
Okay. So I am open to questions. I hope I wasn't jumping all over the place there.
So that was an amazing presentation. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
So our time is coming to a near. However, we will take just a few questions. But Sarah, could you share like your website and other information for people to get in touch with you concerning if they're interested in their companion, dog companion? If you can share it in the chat, we really appreciate it. But we're gonna go ahead and take just a few questions right quick. So you guys can go on about your day. For all these questions, I'm gonna just say again, we're looking forward to our holiday affair. We are encouraging all of those that's coming to the holiday 20th anniversary party, please bring your family members. We want everyone to be involved. And again, we are so excited about our upcoming date. And so now we're going to go ahead and do the questions. And
I see Rita
Rita,
has
is
her
it Rita?
hand.
Go
Yes.
ahead, Rita. You still mute.
There you go. Sorry, I was trying to get it. Anyway, okay, quickly. Sorry, I had a bunch of questions, but I'll try. I thought you said there were 6 regions, but only 2 main regions. Is that what you're saying?
There are 6 regions, but 2 of those 6 have the formal hearing dog programs.
Oh, okay, that's what you said. Okay, got it. So
Yeah.
they're just the 2. Okay, and then does being in a crate create anxiety for the dog if there's noise outside, or they learn to relax if they're in the crate?
They relax. These dogs have been crated since they were 8 weeks old.
Okay.
So really, it's a very comforting, it's like a bedroom for them. Like,
Okay, so
know
if they
they're
hear
not
something, they're not gonna be all like, oh my gosh, I need to tell my owner. that
I
hear a
wouldn't
noise."
think so. I wouldn't think so,
Okay,
but
so they're crate trained and potty trained, I guess?
yes.
Okay, and then, let me see, if, let's say if the person dies, well, they have the dog, but somebody, will they go back to you guys?
That's a case by case situation where if the dog's been with like the family for a while and the person
Okay,
passes, then
okay,
the family's welcome to keep the dog.
okay,
But if it
okay.
happens really quickly and the family is not interested in keeping the dog, then we can, and the dog would still be young at that point, but they've confirmed they don't want to keep the dog, then we can take the dog back and we can place them with somebody else.
And I'm assuming, like, I'm from Albuquerque here, I do the hearing loss here in Albuquerque, but if you're from a different state, then if you're accepted, then, we just go to Florida or California, right? If
Correct.
that happens. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. And then just really one more really quick, I'm so sorry, I'm taking all your time. If like my own, it's just, I can't hear where a noise is coming from. That's every noise. And that's what scares me, because if something happens, I don't know where it's coming from. Is that a possibility?
Well, the dogs, they do need to be trained to specific sounds
Okay.
within the home for them to be successful. So that's, yeah, something to really understand.
Okay.
They won't just
Sorry.
alert, they won't just alert you to anything and everything. They need to be taught, like, this sound's important to me, this sound is important to me, and this is where it's located.
Thank you.
No problem. I'm sorry I went so long, you guys, so I apologize, but
I think Anna had her raised hand.
Hi, nice to meet you. I just have 2 quick questions. So
Sure.
first of all, I could tell all the dogs that you have, they shed hair, right?
oh yeah, guaranteed.
So if someone who has, I have a dog at home who's non-shedder, because my mom and I are allergic to dogs that shed. Although I outgrew some of the allergies, but you don't want to take a chance, obviously.
Yeah.
So what happens in that case if, like, I was to ever consider, and apply, like, would they match up with a dog who doesn't shed, or that's just out of the question then?
No, that's a great question. And unfortunately, we don't have other breeds to offer. So our organization only uses golden retrievers and Labradors and crosses of those 2. So
A Labradoodle, is that what it is?
no, a Labrador, I think a Labradoodle are the ones that folks with allergies do okay with, but we don't have any of those dogs. We only have Labradors and golden retrievers and then crosses. So they'd be a Labrador golden retriever cross, but they all shed.
Got it.
They like, there's no hiding the fact that they all shed year round too.
I see.
So you need a
yes.
really good vacuum. If you don't have, I'm sorry that you have allergies, but
We have a golden doodle at home, and I've been lucky that he does alert me whenever there's a mailman or certain things. He barks. That's his way of alerting anything. And so I've been okay so far. But the other question I had is, are there like really key things that would really deny someone from getting it who has a hard of hearing? Because I always thought that it was someone who was deaf that would get a dog until our president of our club, Wendy, said, "Oh, we have a member in our group that had a hearing dog before implants, before it got worse and needed implants."
Mhm.
I thought, wow, I never knew that, because I always thought they were physical, kind of for people with the blind or deaf. I never, growing up, knew that these dogs would help people with hard of hearing
Yeah,
who are not deaf and not using sign language.
right. Yeah, no, our clientele varies in their level of hearing loss or equipment that they use or language that they use. So yeah, they are, I think I'm answering your question or confirming.
Yeah, you're
what you're
answering,
saying.
yeah.
Okay.
Because you were saying that there's a very lengthy process to be interviewed and looking at everything. So is there something specifically you're looking that would say yes to that the client qualifies? And is there like one thing you would say that really just they're not a fit for this kind of a dog?
Usually if there's any sort of expectation that we cannot meet for the applicant, so sometimes they have expectations of the dog that we say this isn't possible, or these dogs are not trained to do that.
Yeah.
And that would contribute to that decision. Or if we do have some serious concerns about the person's health or ability to care for the dog, or fall risks are scary, because dogs respond, they remember things, they associate things. So if they have a negative experience, even if it was a total accident, okay, or if it's happened several times, they're going to start avoiding that, whatever it is, whether they were hit by a door or if someone fell on them. They will learn to avoid that source of discomfort. That's just how we all kind of operate that way.
Yeah.
So yeah, if there's concerns that way, or if, we look even at an applicant's support system. If they're on hard times and they don't have anybody around them to help, if they ever needed help, that's something that we consider. Because these dogs are, yes, they're tools and they're there to help you, but they are relying on you to care for them in every single way. We always say bringing one of these dogs into your home, they don't replace like anything. They're an added tool, but they are like adding a 2-year-old toddler. That's the kind of care and
they're
attention.
24-hour care.
Yeah, care, attention, and management. Because these dogs are highly trained, but they still are dogs, and they can still make very bad decisions, or have a moment where they decide, okay, today's the day, I might do something stupid,
Yeah.
And I say that with love, because that's how they are. They're dogs, so we can never forget them, and they are relying on us to not only keep them safe and make sure they have a routine, but maintain our expectations of them too. So as a hearing dog handler, you have to be very strong and like committed to your role to ensure that you praise them when they deserve it, you discipline when they earned it. They need to know what's right or wrong.
Yeah.
Because if you leave them to make their own decisions, they'll go back to feral dog. Okay, they'll start doing.
Thank you, Sarah. I was wondering if you would mind take one more question from Patty.
I'm happy to, of course.
Thank you.
Sure. Hi, Patty.
Just a quick question. You can tell I like dogs too.
Oh, cutie.
Yeah, and you mentioned retirement. Can the person who has a hearing dog keep their dog in retirement?
Yes.
You become very attached to them, so I can't
Absolutely.
imagine.
So Good question, and I failed to mention that. But yes, so if it's time to retire the dog, the graduate has the first dibs. You have the option to adopt the dog as the pet, as your pet. At that point, though, if that's the case, when a dog retires, their vest retires, they do not have that public access anymore. We are not taking them out in public with us to places where pet dogs are not allowed. But to be honest, when we talk to graduates whose dogs are retired, it's like they're good. They're like, I'm good. I don't need to go out. Oh, you're going out. Okay, bye. See you when you get home. Because they're a little bit older and they're ready to just relax. So yes, the graduate can adopt the dog as their pet. One other,
Okay.
you're prompting one other important point. Canine Companions does retain ownership of the dog even after they've been placed. This is not because we do not want to relinquish that ownership. It's so that if a dog is ever in a situation that is unsafe or they aren't being cared for, we have every power to just pluck them out of that situation. Okay. So it's really so that we have the ultimate care of them. When a dog retires and the graduate chooses to adopt them as a pet, then you get that full ownership. Okay.
Thank you.
No problem.
So
Thank you,
Sarah,
Sarah.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for your presentation. It was beautiful. We appreciate everyone that attend. But this concludes our Zoom meet for today. I hope everyone go ahead and enjoy the rest of this Saturday and get ready for our party.
Thank you all for having me.
All right. Thank you so much, Sarah.
You're very welcome.
Thanks, Lisa. Thanks, Tim. And thanks, Riz. We're going to end this day. Have a great one.
Thank you.